All right. Good evening, everybody. It is Steve with Real Progressives. Tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about getting ready for the revolution, getting ready as human beings for the revolution, learning to be useful for the revolution, and being your best person in your own personal life and in your activism life. So, Real Progressives, my God, this thing has been going on for over 3 years now. It has been a true labor of love, working on trying to make it more than a Facebook page has been incredibly challenging. I mean, incredibly challenging. We have people that if you don't move fast enough, think they can build a better mousetrap. They go run off. They fizzle out because they realize it's a lot of frickin' work to try and do this. And you got to really believe in what you're doing. And you've got to put the time in, and you got to care even when nobody's giving you a clap on the back, when nobody's sitting there giving you your praises, when nobody's telling you what a good boy you are. You still got to get up, put the uniform on, and keep pressing on. And I'm telling you right now, it is a real, honest to God, labor of love. You have got to really, truly believe in what you're doing. And here's the situation. Most people, they've been beaten down by the way the society is run. They've been beaten down by the economy. They've been beaten down by fake news. They've been beaten down by rigged elections. They've been beaten down by regular trolls on social media that make life literally so toxic that all you want to do is get away from it. So doing this social media gig and trying desperately to make something worthwhile is extremely challenging. And part of the deal is this: you have an opportunity like you've never had before to literally learn new skills, to really dig in and be effective at changing the way people see things, being able to change the way society operates, being able to change the course of the future by penetrating the minds of society, by staying steadfast and staying on message and literally carving out a new way of seeing the world. What we've tried to do, obviously, at Real Progressives is talk about economics largely because I've said a million times, most of the issues, every single one of us agrees on. Even the ones that are centrists agree largely with what we're saying. They just give up before they fight. So how is it that we can overcome these things? You've got everybody talking about entering some party and cheering everybody on and support that way. And that's fine. That's part of, I guess, a different strategy. But what I see is this. I see something entirely different. I don't see politics as being the savior here because I think that politics is a reflection of an apathetic society, a society that's given up, a society that's stopped trying to make change. And even though they come out and they post a million posts about Donald Trump, they post an awful lot of garbage about conspiracies and other nonsense that has no bearing on anything. There's not one thing that's going to change at all. Nothing will change. There's no forward trajectory. It's shotgun scatter. It's like a Rorschach ink blot test. There's no value coming from it. But yet people do it day in and day out. So you ask yourself, how can you be effective in this movement? And again, I come back and I say, you've got to change the way society looks and feels and acts and everything about it. So part of that to me is by not only learning new skills yourself, elevating our activism away from just doing things and building the structure, building the formation so that you can do many big things and really, really have an impact. I used to run around to these different events and I used to, put my fist in the air and stuff, and I'll still go to them. But I realized a lot of them just suck the life out of you. I mean, it's cool for the moment. But let me ask you a question. The march last tax day, where they wanted to see Trump's tax returns, millions of people descended onto the mall in Washington, D.C. to talk about Trump's tax returns. Now, I want to ask you, have you seen Trump's tax returns yet? No. Have you seen any change come from that massive march yet? No. How about the massive women's march that came in there and everybody had their pink pussy hats on? Do you even remember what the issues they brought up were? What demands were made then, and what have you seen change from that? Anything? Be honest. Have you seen any change come from it? The answer is no, you haven't. Because they're moments, they're events. It's like a concert you went to in 1987. It was a neat memory, but nothing changed when you went and saw Duran Duran or Metallica or Snoop Dogg or anybody else. Nothing changed. It was just an experience. And while that's certainly good and fun, it's not changing anything. So how can you change this stuff, right? So one of the things that we started doing was we realized in order to deliver things, we had to accept that we're not going to be able to just pump out a bunch of crap. We're going to have to step back a little bit and build the mechanisms by which we can do these things. And so we didn't have a starting point. We didn't have any money. We didn't have a lot of skills. Some people had skills. Some people didn't have skills. And we decided we're going to build a project management office, a PMO. For those of you who are in business, who have worked in large corporations or have, worked in small startups even, PMOs are essential to getting things done, to laying out the roadmap for getting things done and building things. And when you look, most people don't have a clue how to do a project management plan. They have no idea how to actually schedule. They have no idea how to assign tasks. They have no idea to track and monitor. They have no idea to gauge whether the quality was good or whether or not they achieved the objectives. They have no idea how to lay out an end-to-end plan to make sure that what they said they were going to do in the front is the same as it was on the back and that it was exactly what they meant to do. Now think about a protest, or think about a direct action, or think about a sustained political campaign. You have got to be organized, right? Well, what does that mean? Does that mean everybody's running around hanging out with their fists in the air together? Hey, I've got a friend, you call this friend, I call another friend. Okay, maybe you got your numbers that way, but you haven't solved anything. So how do you build this thing? And what we've decided is it's project management. It's project management. It's teaching people to work in a systematic fashion so that they create processes that can be reused over and over and over again. And to me, the ability to help organize other groups, external groups as well, and work together in an organized fashion to create maximum impact so that if we do a direct action, nobody's wondering a year later if there was any impact, because you automatically laid out what your target demands were when you start the project. You lay out your demands. You lay out how you're going to validate your demands. You lay out the consequences of not meeting the demands. And then you set forth plans for which, if they don't do this, this is what we will do. Here is our contingency plan if they do what we said we're going to do. And too many people waste your time. They're all excited. They've got all kinds of energy. They spin you around. They send you this way. They send you that way. And not a thing gets done. Or maybe things get done, but they're the wrong things, right? And all this planning stuff is boring, man. I want to run to the finish line. But there's a saying, and I believe it with all my heart. Failure to plan is planning to fail. I want to change the world, right? That's my goal. How am I going to do that? I'm going to build structures that allow us to build ridiculously potent campaigns that can deliver over and over again. And you say, well, Steve, where are you getting all these project managers and all these other business people and people? I'm getting them from activists. I'm getting them from regular people like you and I. I am getting them from volunteers. that want to take the experience at Real Progressives and maybe use it to launch their own personal careers as well. Take the skills they learn here and advance them outside. So it's a win-win. But when you're in here, the goal is to create world-class processes to deliver high-quality products that are useful for the movement, not to make money, but to enable and empower other activists, other members, other friends, other people of like mind. And it does no good to just run around doing things. If your website isn't delivering the things that you want to say, and it's not providing access to tools that you want it to provide, then your website is ineffective. Your website is not good. Who cares if you have a website? Your website has got to deliver value, and value is not a financial value necessarily. It's really more a value to the people looking at it, coming to it, identifying, does this serve my needs? And so people in this volunteer world, if they're willing to take the time to learn how to develop the skills necessary to deliver high impact campaigns, and to be organized. You know, the keyword organized. I take it very, very seriously. I don't like watching shotgun scatter. In fact, I get out of my mind when I see chaos. I need things orderly. I need things moving so that there's not wasted steps. There's not wasted space. There's not wasted time, because who has time? We all have lives. We all have family. We all have jobs. Most of us, you know. So when you're spinning your wheels and you're bouncing off the walls and you're getting nowhere fast, and then all of a sudden you get down on the movement, that doesn't serve anybody any good, does it? That rush to the finish line to do some activism in your local community, or rush to do some random activism somewhere else. You know, on one hand, yes, this is great. But on the other hand, you've got to ask yourself, was it effective? How would you know if it was effective? What was your goal? What did you get out of this? What is the lasting value here? And when I say that, I'm not just talking about the action. I'm talking about the investment in planning. Regular people gain professional skills that not only can they use in their own personal life, but they can use directly for the movement. People say, well, what can I do to help? How about if you transcribe videos and did write-ups for them? Oh, well, that doesn't sound like activism to me. You mean to tell me creating the atmosphere and creating the write-ups for videos that will help people learn these key things doesn't feel like activism to you? People have this idea that activism is just running around with a sign in your hand with your fist in the air and a bullhorn yelling at people. Okay, that's one form of activism. But has it been effective? What have you seen work with these things? It's time to level up the activism. I tell you what, every day we watch these live streams pipe across. Every day we see them. And I say, let's take a look for a week and see what came out of that action. Let's take a look. And I guarantee you're going to find that some of these actions are just about a waste of time. Now, you can turn a waste of time into good use by networking your butt off, meeting people. But I can tell you right now, the vast majority of this movement is incredibly disorganized, incredibly ineffective, incredibly inefficient, and incredibly lacking for focus. If you're trying to solve everything, you're not going to solve anything. So you've got to lay out a plan for how you're going to solve each item. It's daunting, isn't it? But the problem is that if you don't develop the skills to do proper planning, then you're not going to achieve anything. I mean, really. Sorry, coffee time. I think to myself, I used to be a hardcore drinker back in the day. And I think a lot of that was because I always had my mind moving 1,000 miles an hour and I couldn't shut it down for anything. So the booze allowed me to tune it down a thou. But now without the booze in my head, my mind still moves 1,000,000 miles a second. And I decided I could either let that drive me crazy or I could turn it to good use in the movement. And so over the course of time, I've developed project management skills. I've developed solutions-based design and selling, taking those roles that you had in your professional career, if you had one, right? I mean, seriously, everybody doesn't have that. But we can give you those sorts of experiences if you want to. But as a sales guy in the past, you learn to listen to what the needs are. You learn to take notes. You learn to take effective notes. You learn that you don't have to be a court stenographer in a meeting, but you've got to capture risks, actions, issues, and decisions. You realize that the things that matter most are the things that are going to require follow-up. If somebody tells you we need to research something, that's a note. Take that down. Who's going to do that research? I'll do it. When do you think you'll have that research done by? I can have it done by Friday. Great. Done. I'll be calling you in a couple days to make sure you're still doing it. This is called organization. Just sort of doing things is not organization. That's chaos. And chaos gets us nowhere. It's like one giant cacophony, some big boom, some noise, and it amounts to next to nothing. When you're talking about video production, think to yourself, is this me putting my best foot forward? Just doing something doesn't necessarily make it effective, right? You got to plan for what you're trying to do. Yeah, sure, you can shoot from the cuff, kind of shoot from the hip. But how do you know if you were successful? How do you know what your target was? How do you know that you're achieving the thing you need to achieve? This is not some, hey, get successful story. This is about making activism work for the movement. There's a lot of stuff about door knocking. There's a lot of stuff about phone banking. There's a lot of stuff about building effective marketing campaigns, ad space, using different media specifically to get your message across. And those are all excellent tools. But long before you ever see that billboard, long before you ever see that commercial, long before you ever see the script that goes to the teleworkers that are out there phone banking, long before you ever see the signs go up, there's planning involved. There's research. That's how the bad guys keep winning, because they out-organize us. They out-pro us up. They are out there proed up to the hilt. And they're not out there making excuses for why they don't have time to sit on a fucking conference call. They're not making excuses for why they don't have their action items done. They're doing them. And they mean to win. They mean to win. In no way, shape, or form, are they actually screwing off. when they decide that they're going to do a troll infiltration campaign on social media, damn it, if the Brock people didn't infiltrate the Bernie groups and fill it full of Brock propaganda. They were organized, they went in, and they disrupted. It was terrible, but they did. They had their organization set up. They had their donors set up. They had everything set up. They had their phone calls back and forth. They had all sorts of networking done. They had money pouring in. They were organized. They were ready, and they were able to flip the scene and destroy the movement. Because what do you see happening right now with what was the Bernie movement? You see a bunch of people that have gone and dem-entered. You see a bunch of people that have dem-exited. You see a bunch of people chasing QAnon or whatever the hell it is. You see a bunch of people chasing this and chasing that and chasing the other and chasing their tails, but you don't see a movement anymore. You don't see that movement. What you do see, though, I hope, is potential. I hope what you see is potential. We know what it can look like. But instead, we put all of our hopes and dreams in one man. And we failed to really get organized. We failed to really get organized. And the vast majority of the quote unquote organizing was sheep herding people into the Green Party, into the Blue Party, the Democrats, the Red Party, the Republicans, the friggin' this party, the that party, the other party. That's what they called organizing. And I'm here to tell you, organizing also involves much more than politics, much more than parties, much more. Much, much more. So much of what we see in the news and in the regular television space, these sitcoms and other series, these series we binge watch on Netflix and so forth, many of these things have an aesthetic. They have a bend, a particular bend that leaves us with a neoliberal mindset because these people are ruthlessly organized. Okay? Ruthlessly organized. So we've got to create countercultural, counter narratives through video, through written word, through our conversations at work, at the playground with other parents, at sporting events. These one-off things, it's not really much organization to it unless you start training people how insidious the mindset of neoliberalism is, unless you start teaching them how it permeates even your kids' choir practice, how it impacts your local church, how it impacts the local YMCA or anything else that you're involved in. And you realize that part of the problem is that it is everywhere. It's like water. It finds its mark. It finds its level. It just fills the holes. And propaganda coming from extremely organized opposition is what we're up against more than anything. We're up against that more than we are against any kind of inverted totalitarian whatever. We are involved in a propaganda scheme that requires incredible pulling back from current events, not getting wrapped up in the show of the day, the comment of the day, the friggin' meme of the day, the friggin' Trump tweet of the day, and all the other bullshit that keeps us spinning and sidelined. It comes from staying focused on what you want. Trump's focused on what he wants. That's why you're paying attention to his tweets. You want to act like they're irrelevant? Make them irrelevant. Start focusing on what it is we want and start organizing around it and put project plans together. Create charters. Lay that shit out, man. Lay it out. Background, scope, constraints, assumptions. dependencies, predecessors, successors, success criteria, timeline, when you start, when you end, what your follow-up is, what your training plan is, what you do with the new recruits that come from your organizing. So you have a plan. So you're constantly feeding them through, training them, educating them, getting them weaponized to go out and fight this revolution. I don't know if this is making sense to you or not, but it doesn't do any good, in my opinion, to run around place to place with your fist in the air and no follow through. It just doesn't. I tried. I've tried so hard to just fit in, but I am an oddball. I accept it. I want shit perfect. I want shit airtight. I want to be rock solid. When I look at the time I spend, which is, it's just ridiculous. I'm not going to lie. It's unhealthy how much time I spend doing Real Progressives. It is. But it's because I keep thinking that if I invest now, that other people are going to come in, they're going to take the message, they're going to take the structure, they're going to take the processes and procedures, and they're going to add their own creative juices to it, and it's going to take off and blow up. And we're going to have the vehicle to be able to change everything because we've not left a stone unturned, because we have been freaking methodical and thorough and organized. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. That is how I view the world. Am I right? Well, only time's going to tell, right? But I can assure you, every time we've had somebody come onto this team full of piss and vinegar, bouncing around like a soda shaking up, wanting to just do stuff. Let's run away. I get dizzy. I get vertigo with, oh God, here we go again. I'm not even joking. I have energy that you wouldn't believe. I put this 20 hours a day. I swear on my life, unfortunately, it's true. I overlap at my own job. When when I go to the bathroom, I got my phone in my hand. When I go to lunch, I got my phone in my hand. When I'm driving into work, I'm making phone calls to people on my team. When I'm leaving work, I'm making phone calls to people on my team. When I get home, it's all about the family until bedtime. And then as soon as they go to bed, bam, I'm back to the races again until I finally pass out. That's not sustainable, but I've got to keep doing it until other people pick that ball up and say, yo, we got this. Let's make it happen. We're getting there. We are really getting there. But this isn't just about Real Progressives. This is about every organization that's out there right now. Even informal clubs that are trying to make a difference need to take a different look at how they get things done. Yeah, it is a little bit of TMI. My point being, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is the very definition of insanity. I am no young man. I'm no old guy either, but I'm getting there. And I don't think I've got 100 years to wait for green energy. I don't think I have 100 years to wait for a national health service and dental service. I don't think I have 100 years to wait for a federal job guarantee. So if I ever get laid off again and the economy's in the tank, that there is a job for me waiting. I don't have the time to wait for the student loans to be forgiven or eradicated, completely canceled. I have a $127,000 education noose wrapped around my neck at the present. I don't have 100 years for that, but it might take 100 years to pay the damn thing off. We don't have time to wait for the environment. The planet will keep going, but life as we know it will be dramatically changed. Running around with our fist in the air and signs up is like the progressive give up strategy. without having organization beneath it to make effective change happen, to guarantee, here's my demands, here's what we expect, here's how we're going to do it, and damn it, here's the execution strategy, and here's the success criteria, and damn it, here's the follow-up actions. That is how this must be done. And unfortunately, I've watched a lot of people that just want to have everybody kind of have like this flat, completely flat organization. I appreciate co-ops more than you will ever know. But everybody is not at the same place at the same time, able to do things in an organized fashion. And to achieve great things, you've got to be focused. So the hammer has its purpose, the nail has its purpose, the screwdriver has its purpose, and the saw has its purpose. But at the end of the day, it takes organization to make all those tools work together to build something beautiful. You don't sit there and say, well, I want to build a house, and then go and try and build a house without a plan. You don't go in for open heart surgery without having done prep work and get ready for the surgery and have a plan. You certainly don't do a heart transplant without securing the replacement heart. That requires planning. It requires knowing that in 3 minutes we have to take the old heart out, and the other 3 minutes we put the new one in, whatever the process is. When you fly the space shuttle into outer space, you don't just do it willy-nilly. Hey, I'm going to take a joy ride in the old space shuttle, going to go over to Jupiter someday. Yeah, I'm just going to do it, man. I'll send postcards from space. No, you have a plan. Even our military has a plan. Every time it has a plan. Good, bad, and different, that's not the point. The point is, when you want to be effective, you got to lay out a plan. You're not going to get where you want to be by accident. And you're definitely not going to get there yelling in a bullhorn with a sign in your hand, fist in the air. Not without a plan, you're not. And not without organization backing it up. And not without follow-through plans and contingency plans when they don't cave in the first time. We have far too few success stories right now coming from activism. Far too few success stories. Because the wrong people are leading these initiatives. People are just doing shotgun scatter. I shouldn't say the wrong people are leading them. I should say the wrong mindset is leading them. The wrong planning strategy is missing. I mean, they're completely missing. And now imagine if, however they gather all these people to these events, imagine if it was really people that were really seriously trying to change the world, leading them, putting together solid demands with next steps. Imagine how great it would be to have 10 million people descend on the mall with a plan. With a plan. They know what to do next. They don't just show up willy-nilly. They know what to do next. They know what to do after that. They're committed, they're organized, they're focused, and they execute. The enemy we're fighting against, they're doing it every freaking day. And it's time for us to take a step back from wanting our fist in the air and learn. Take a moment to learn. Take a moment to plan. Take a moment to listen. There's people out there that have no active listening skills whatsoever. The minute you're talking, they're already thinking about what they're going to say next. So they miss the action items. They miss the content of the meeting. They miss everything because they're so focused on just saying whatever it is they're going to say next. Active listening. It's a key thing in being effective, both in a movement and as a leader, and as somebody who's just trying to get shit done. So this discussion tonight kind of parallels what's going on at Real Progressives as we try to institute these things, as we try to build the structures that will enable us to do media, that will allow us to do education, that will allow us to do activism, and will allow us to literally build policies and build a body of knowledge to help everyone take a step forward and change the world. We're way behind on our fundraising goals. We're way behind on some of the technology that we'd like to have. We're way behind on developing people in certain roles that we need to do. But we're laying plans out to do this. It may take a little longer than we had wanted, but I believe when we're finished, that we will have such a robust organization capable of delivering on the things we've set forward to deliver, that we will change the world. That's my goal. And I believe that's the people on our team's goal as well. And I hope you'll help us. If you have a desire to volunteer, you want to learn some skills, don't think you're walking into Microsoft. We're not Microsoft. We're just a bunch of volunteers trying to put this thing together, but we do have a plan. And if you're interested in learning, you're interested in contributing, and you're interested in being a part of something greater than yourself, that's not just politically driven, that is beyond politics, it's over politics, it's broader. If you want to be a part of something like that, we want you to be a part of us too. Make no mistake about it. We are all about modern monetary theory, and we're proud as hell of it. We don't pull punches. We don't make excuses, and we don't provide air cover for people that get the economics wrong. But the rest of it, we go hand in hand with almost everyone when it comes to the progressive movement's desire for green energy, when it comes to the progressive movement's desire for healthcare, when it comes to education, all the above. So think about it. We could use your money for sure. If you would like to help us on a monthly basis, please go to our Patreon account. If you want to send a check, we have a P.O. box now, P.O. Box 313, Lewisberry, Pennsylvania, 17339. We have our Patreon account, like I said, for monthly donations. And we also have a PayPal for one-time donations. I'm hoping that if you volunteer, you'll look at the button on our page, the page that's associated with this live stream. And you'll click on that button and you'll sign up to volunteer. If you got video editing skills, if you've got writing skills, if you've got project management skills, if you've got business analyst skills, if you've got process management skills, if you've got a desire to be a part of something and are willing to learn and have no skills, but willingness, please click that button and sign up. And if you just want to know what's going on, go ahead and sign up so we can get our newsletter out to you as well. But in the meantime, though, I just want you to know I appreciate every one of you for supporting us, even watching these live streams, coming to our page, sharing our content. We are going to change the world. I assure you that, one way or the other. And I hope you all will be a part of that. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Have a great evening, everyone.